Coming up next on E! Playboy Playmates from A to Z. Welcome to Playmates, then and now. E's 1 hour salute to the women of Playboy. I'm Todd Newton here at the beautiful Playboy Mansion, where today the scene is quiet and serene. Having married his favorite playmate, Kimberly Conrad, back in 1989, Hugh Hefner is no longer the world's most eligible bachelor. And of course, women don't just come and go like they used to. But what was it like when they did? Well, in the next hour, we'll take you through 5 decades of fantasy and everlasting love affair that Mr. Playboy himself created when he went looking for the girl next door. We'll also catch up with some of the hottest women from Playboy's past, including 3-time cover girl Barbie Benton, MTV hotshot Jenny McCarthy, and celebrity centerfold Shannon Tweed. Plus, we'll meet a babe-turned-biologist and a host of other intriguing playmates. But in order to understand how the playmate phenomenon began, we must go all the way back to the early 50s. The year was 1953, and a journalist named Hugh Hefner began to publish a magazine that would change the world.
The notion behind Playboy was to create a kind of a romantic connection for men.
So, with clever copy and a concept called Playmate of the Month, Hef was ready to roll.
This is the cover of issue #1.
Too poor to shoot their own pictures, the first nudes were pinups purchased from a calendar company. The first Playmate of the Month, Marilyn Monroe.
The fact that we had Marilyn Monroe, who was just becoming a hot star, was very important because it made it an issue that people wanted to pick up. I don't think that any single person has done more to legitimatize nudity than Marilyn Monroe. Her posing for those pictures, coming as it did in a very repressive, conservative time, was a revelation.
A revelation and a major controversy.
In those days, it was delivered in a brown paper bag.
By today's standards, however, the pictures were timid, and so were the girls.
It was a very modest little picture. It just showed my rump, but it took me 3 times to take my clothes off. I was a bit of a prude, I guess.
But that demure quality was exactly what Hef was looking for. Once Playboy began making money, Hef started shooting his own pictorials and creating his ideal playmate.
The premise of the Playmate, from the outset, was the girl next door.
In order to capture that essence, Hef turned to natural settings.
We began to shoot the Playmates in a context, in an environment that didn't look like a studio. Again, intended to create the Playmates in a context that where you felt as if you might be there.
In 1958, June Wilkinson was one of Hef's experiments.
The first time I was in Chicago. They were taken at his office.
It was shot in my office and bedroom, the bedroom in my office.
I'm trying to think what I remember about him. He had some kind of board, I think, that you balance on, and he was balancing on this board a lot.
Bongo board.
We didn't have a makeup artist, we didn't have a hairdresser, and I didn't have any clothes. So I think in that session, I'm wearing one of his shirts, and I was not self-conscious at all.
Maybe not, but finding other girls to pose in the 1950s was not an easy task. In fact, Janet Pilgrim, Playboy's secretary at the time, became somewhat of a regular in the magazine. But as the years moved on, posing became much more popular.
It was fun, you know, it was like being a princess for a day. You had so much attention, and it was just a lot of fun.
Becoming a Playmate is more than just a photo assignment. It is a major event in most of these women's lives.
And nowhere is the significance of being in Playboy more evident than at GlamourCon, where playmates from throughout the decades gather every year to greet fans and hang with Hef.
I'm his favorite playmate. It's just he's kept it a secret all these years.
Of all the playmates, some of the most popular came from the 60s. At the time, Vietnam was polarizing the world. Playboy to the rescue.
Dear Mr. Hefner, this is written from the depths and the hearts of 180 officers and men of Company B, 2nd Battalion. The loneliness here is a terrible thing, and we long to see a real, living, breathing American girl. Therefore, We have enclosed with this letter a money order for a lifetime subscription to Playboy magazine for B Company.
It was on the back of the magazine that for $150, a Playmate would deliver a subscription anywhere, but no one thought Vietnam.
At the request of the soldiers, Playboy sent Joe Collins, Playmate of the Year 1965, to hand-deliver the first issue.
I'll tell you, I've never felt so appreciated in my life. 5,000 GIs are waiting, and I'm going, oh. I think, as far as being a Playmate, this was probably the trip of a lifetime.
The 70s would also be eventful and controversial as full frontal nudity became the next frontier.
The decision was really dictated by what was happening in the other media. Both O Calcutta and Hair were on Broadway with full frontal nudity, and I simply felt that it was the time.
My Playmate of the Year pictorial, I thought it was too sexy, too erotic. I think there was a time in the 70s when they were trying to be a little more, maybe a little more penthouse. I don't think they had such a great result with that, and I think they went more back to, more The Girl Next Door and more wholesome.
But not wholesome enough. The controversy would continue into the 80s, only this time Playboy sales took a hit.
The circulation began to suffer in the early 80s with the arrival of Ronald Reagan and the Christian right, and played havoc with both our newsstand sales and also advertising.
Enter Playmate of the Year 1988, India Allen.
At that time, Playboy was suffering at the hands of the Meese Commission, and they had been pushed out of the 7-Elevens, and I helped get them back in. They picked a smart Playmate that year instead of the incredibly drop-dead gorgeous one.
Actually, Hef insists that intelligence has always been part of the Playmate equation.
Physical attractiveness is the first requisite, but personality, and therefore intelligence, has always been important. I mean, we had a Phi Beta Kappa Playmate in 1955. A willingness to pose in the magazine, to pose nude, requires a little backbone and a certain independence. Those are usually connected to intelligence.
1967 Playmate of the Month Heather Ryan is proof positive.
How many scientists do you know have a staple in their navel?
As Miss Glendale 1965, she was definitely Playmate material. But from the start, she had a very different agenda.
I think I knew in 3rd grade I wanted to be a biologist. I was embarrassed to do Playboy. I knew that the world would see it.
But the money would help pay for school, so she came up with the pseudonym Heather Ryan and posed for the magazine while in college.
I was in a botany class at school, and the professor somehow, I don't know how, recognized me. Even though it wasn't the same name as my married name is now, he recognized me, and he put the magazine right on my desk. I was mortified.
Her fans still know her as Heather Ryan, but these days, as a biologist, she goes by Pat Dahl and lives in Southern California with her husband, her kids, and her creatures.
My love has always been for the unloved, the unappreciated, and the deadly.
Cute little couple.
With a popular lecture series and a book and travel company, Heather's Playboy days are long gone.
You could see me walking down a street, and you would never know that I ever modeled or ever posed for Playboy. You just would never guess.
Unlike Heather, most of the Playmates didn't have a specific goal when they did Playboy. They just saw an opportunity.
I wish I could say I had the foresight to plan the whole thing, but I didn't.
Rejected 3 times, Shannon Tweed persisted and finally got her picture in the magazine in November of 1981.
My family was supportive. My friends disowned me.
But it didn't matter. An interlude with Hef and Playmate of the Year would push her into the celebrity spotlight and the wildlife.
I think the parties then compared to now reflected also the times. I mean, it was a lot more free and easy then, and I mean, AIDS wasn't around and cocaine was supposed to be good for you. You know, cigarettes were not addictive and everybody drank. Hindsight's 20/20, but had I to do it over again, I probably wouldn't have overindulged as much.
Shannon's outlook is a reflection of where she's at today with longtime companion Gene Simmons of KISS.
We're in our 13th year now. Not married. Have 2 children. Nicholas is 8, Sophie's 4. Happily ever after.
With a new video out, Shannon continues to enjoy the celebrity status Playboy has brought her. But sometimes it's celebrity women who bring their status to the magazine.
In the last decade or two, it is difficult to name a major sex star that has not been in the pages of Playboy.
50 years down the line, I'm going to be so excited that I did the same magazine that Marilyn Monroe was on the cover of, you know, the very first issue. I was really glad to have a moment in time when I was at a very free point in my life, and I think it's fun, and I don't think it's tasteless. I think it was adventurous.
So does award-winning actress Sally Kirkland.
I'm the kind of person that's going to push buttons, whatever I do, and that's on purpose.
As one of the first women to appear nude on stage, Sally's been a pioneer, but it wasn't until recently that she did Playboy.
I'd been asked many times by Playboy to do a layout, and I always said no, because I thought it would hurt my chances of being taken seriously as a serious actress. And my mind has changed now. I believe spirit and sex are all in the same beautiful category. I think, unfortunately, religiosity gives the beauty of a nude woman in a picture maybe a bad name.
The remarkable thing to me is, quite frankly, that it is still, that what we do is still viewed as both controversial and important. And that gives me a lot of satisfaction, because you can't be a dragon slayer if there's some dragons out there.
As controversy continues to fuel Playboy's success, being a Playmate has actually become one of the most popular gigs in town. Now stay with us, because still to come, we'll go to a photo shoot and see what it takes to make it as a centerfold.
Hold on to that piece there.
And we'll visit one of Playboy's most popular celebrity pinups, Barbie Benton, at her Aspen mansion.
Dun, 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 dun.
And a little bit later on, women who've won Playboy's top honor, Playmate of the Year.
I'd like to thank Hugh Hefner and all the readers of Playboy magazine for choosing me as the 1994 Playmate of the Year.
Welcome back to E's hour-long tribute to Playmates past and present. I'm Todd Newton. Now, if you think that taking your clothes off is the only prerequisite for being in Playboy, you better guess again. To get your picture on the cover of the magazine takes what can only be described as magic. There's no work experience that dresses up a resume quite like undressing for Playboy. And the secret to being a Playmate is in the look. Easier to identify than to describe, the look of a Playmate is almost based on contradiction. Familiar, yet exotic. Wholesome, yet forbidden. And over the past 5 decades, the Playmate look has undergone many dramatic changes, yet somehow continues to stay the same. Few people understand the look more than Marilyn Grabowski.
I love the net like that. It's perfect.
Marilyn has been with Playboy for more than 30 years. As the West Coast photo editor, she plays a major role in the selection of all Playmates.
I've looked at probably billions of photographs.
Magic now is slightly different than it was 30 years ago, because part of the magic is called height. It seems that a girl that's 5'10" has a better chance than a girl that's 5 feet. There's a reason that Playmates get taller every year. The population is growing taller, and we represent the population, and we have lots of girls. I would say the norm is 5'7".
Playmate pictorials accentuate every physical attribute: the hair, the arms, the legs, the face, the smile, and those other all-important assets.
We do tend to go for the more voluptuous girls because our readers seem to respond to it.
And while hairstyles and fashion have changed over the years, the basics remain surprisingly consistent. From the 1960s up through the 90s, average measurements have barely changed.
That doesn't mean we wouldn't photograph a gorgeous girl, no matter how well endowed she is. Small breasts are fine. Get the word out. I mean, it's beautiful breasts, whether they're small or medium or large.
In order to capture that image of beauty, it's important that the girls feel at ease during their photo shoots.
Unless a girl feels really comfortable and secure, it's a little bit difficult to be sexy and to enjoy it.
She just needs to get the hair over right.
Girls try so hard. I've had them pass out, get sick, throw up, cry, because the shooting is arduous. It's not easy to be a Playmate. We let them be nervous and reassure them that that's a very normal part of the process. They're nervous before the fact. 5 minutes into the shoot, and who's nervous, you know? I have to sometimes tell them to put their clothes back on.
In fact, being a Playmate is so popular these days that girls are standing in line just for a shot.
We're practically booked up for next year.
It's astonishing to me. I've got so many beautiful girls and we want to shoot them, but where are we going to put them all? I don't know. Now more than ever, I'm getting calls from producers and directors. 10 years ago, it was much more limited. Playboy wasn't that acceptable and certainly not on television. And now, my God, where would Baywatch be without us?
One of the keys to Playboy's success has been its unique openness to all women who apply for the opportunity to appear in the magazine.
Anyone that calls and wants to be a Playmate gets their forum. We bring them in and we do Polaroids. I don't know if we've had an 80-year-old woman come in to be a Playmate, but close to it. I mean, everyone shows up. I love that.
One hopeful applicant is Carrie Goggin, a former figure skater who has decided to take advantage of Playboy's open door policy.
I think Playboy, it's not only like a good career start as far as if you ever wanted to do anything in the modeling or acting or entertainment industry. You look at Playboy and that's the ultimate woman. That's the desirable woman. You know, that's the woman of the 90s, and it'd be great to just be able to do it.
The youngest of a large family, Carrie grew up in California, where she acquired a strong work ethic on the skating rink.
I quit going to regular school, skating 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. The most enjoyable part about skating was, I think, the crowd. I did go to Junior Nationals, which was held out here in Los Angeles, and I placed second, and I thought it was just an exhilarating feeling. But after that, I kind of felt like, okay, I've done it. Wow, I'm getting old.
Carrie left competition when she was 16, and the next 2 years were hectic. She took a few college classes, had a brief marriage that ended in divorce, and weathered some personal problems. Now, Carrie is attempting to re-enter the spotlight via a photo test with Playboy.
I'm definitely nervous about tomorrow. I hope all goes well. Whatever's meant to be will.
Later in the hour, we'll see how Carrie does at her test shoot. But first, we'll hang out with some of Playboy's most popular, from Barbie Benton.
Are you looking at my dress?
To Pamela Anderson.
Pamela, what about this side?
And we'll meet Lorenzo Lamas' wife, Playmate Shauna Sand.
There's a fan blowing on me and I'm freezing to death, you know, shivering, but you can't look like you're shivering.
We're back at the Playboy Mansion. Hi there, I'm Todd Newton, and this is Playmates Then and Now, E's 1-hour tribute to 5 decades of Playboy women. Now, the name Barbie Benton is almost synonymous with Playboy. Born and bred right here in California, Barbie was a student at UCLA when a stint as an extra on a Playboy television show just changed her life.
The very first thing that I did for Playboy was a television show called Playboy After Dark. Hef was the host, and there were about a dozen actors that were hired to pretend to be at a party.
Well, excuse me, I didn't see you come in.
I met Hef the first day on the set, and he was looking for somebody to pretend to be his girlfriend, and he chose me.
I'm glad you could join us. And this is, what's your name again?
Oh, come on.
This is my favorite. Come on, Barbie Benton.
We developed this romantic relationship from that lasted 9 years. After I'd been with Hef for about a month, he asked me if I would be interested in being a Playmate. And I always thought that would be interesting for other girls, but not for me. I continued to turn down the idea of being a Playmate, but one day he approached me with the idea of doing something special. When I told my folks that I was doing a layout for Playboy, they thought it was wonderful. I guess they thought I was doing a fashion shoot. When they found out that it was au naturel, I never heard the end of it. It took my parents about a year before they could talk to me again as a human being.
Barbie soon became a household name, but her life was still incomplete because Hef's main residence was in Chicago, and Barbie was a California girl.
When I saw this house, I called Hef and I said, "Oi, have I got a house for you?" So he flew out immediately and took a look at it, and I said, "You've been saying that there isn't a house in Los Angeles that is good enough for you. Well, I think I found it."
Moving to Los Angeles wasn't the only change Barbie made in Hef's life.
I know that I'm responsible for getting him to travel, at least during the time that we were together. He bought a plane, which he named the Big Bunny. It was a big black stretch DC-9, and we flew all over the world in it. And then the day I broke up with Hef, I think was the last day that he ever got on a plane again. He sold the Big Bunny. I do not believe he has been out of the country in at least 20 years.
Barbie may have left the Playboy Mansion, but she certainly hasn't sacrificed any closet space. Today, Barbie, her husband George, and their 2 children live on a 40-acre spread in Aspen, Colorado.
My life is equally as good as it was then. I have 2 children, and they're a bundle of energy and great fun. I'm so grateful that I had children. I think my son found out that I had been in Playboy when he was about 5, when some of his little 5-year-old friends mentioned it to him. I intended to tell him about it one day, and he thought it was really cool, Mom.
While posing for Playboy may have given Barbie the exposure needed for an acting career, it may have hindered her musical ambitions. Her 8 albums that earned little notoriety in the United States topped the charts in Europe.
In Scandinavia, I was voted the #1 singer for that year. Linda Ronstadt was #3. If people only knew me for my music, would they have had more respect for me as a singer? I'll never know that.
Music is still a major force in Barbie's life, but her hours these days are filled with much more.
What I've been doing in the last, 10 years is building houses. The only concept was that we wanted to live in a piece of art.
In fact, it's a 25,000 square foot piece of art that Barbie designed herself.
The bed turns so that we can either face the fireplace, the TV, or the view. The doors open up, and, oh, the bed I stole from Hef.
But despite all the time she's devoted to building her home, that never-ending passion for travel often takes her away from it.
This is Mexico. This is Varanasi on the most holy day of the year. This is a ivory temple. This is our summer palace. No, it's the Taj Mahal, I'm just joking. The only burning desire that I have is to get to the other 50 countries that I haven't seen.
Well, it's not a bad life. Now, still to come, Pamela Anderson and Jenny McCarthy's rise to fame from the pages of Playboy. And 1995 Playmate of the Year Julie Cialini gets teased.
I'm dying over here.
When we return. Welcome back to E's hour-long special, Playmates, Then and Now. I'm Todd Newton, just kind of lounging here at the Playboy Mansion. Well, virtually unknown when they pose, many Playmates go on to become household names once they're published, and some even become superstars.
Pamela, come on.
She is sexy, sultry, and irresistible.
Pamela, what about this side?
She is Pamela Anderson. Pamela is the 90s answer to Bridget Bardot, and the story of her discovery reads like a true Hollywood legend. She was spotted by a cameraman in a crowd of 50,000 at a football game in Canada. When her close-up flashed on the scoreboard, the stadium went wild. Labatt's Brewery immediately signed her as its poster girl, and soon Playboy came calling.
Bridget Bardot and Bo Derek and Barbie Benton, I think, did 3 covers, so now I really got the record.
7 years and 6 covers later, Pamela does set the record straight.
I was in Playboy before I had, breast implants. I've had 1 surgery that, I hear about all the time. It's pretty funny, but no, I've only had 1 surgery. I've never had anything done to my face or anything like that.
Pamela jumped from Playboy to prime time when she nailed the job of the Tool Time Girl on the hit sitcom Home Improvement. But she soon sailed over to Baywatch.
Everybody said I was crazy for leaving Home Improvement, but I only had 1 or 2 lines a show, so I really wasn't doing much. I didn't really see where my character was going to go. So when Baywatch, the opportunity came around, I thought that was perfect.
This new role fit Pamela as well as the trademark red swimsuit.
I am in control.
Pamela's career has flourished beyond the beach. She has even soared into cyberspace. Her seductive Playboy photos continue to be among the most downloaded images off the internet. But despite her huge success, Pamela remembers where it all began.
I appeared in Playboy long before I got Baywatch. It's definitely a positive thing in my life. It's always been positive. They're the ones who brought me to the States, so they got my work papers and everything for me here, so if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here.
The same might be said of MTV's Jenny McCarthy, whose Playboy layout spread into a Hollywood career. But just a few short years ago, Jenny was selling sausages in Chicago.
One day I really got sick of it because I knew there was something bigger and better for me out there. So I sent some pictures out to some modeling agencies and started going, and a few of them turned me down and said, "Oh, honey, you'd never model, you know." But one, in fact, told me, "You know what, why don't you try Playboy?"
Great advice. The girl next door marched into Playboy's Chicago headquarters and 2 weeks later became Miss October. Playboy fans loved her Catholic schoolgirl image. An image so appealing, she earned the magazine's highest honor.
I'd like to thank Hugh Hefner and all the readers of Playboy magazine for choosing me as the 1994 Playmate of the Year.
Jenny captured hearts across America with her Playboy home video, which climbed to the top of the charts.
If you look on Billboard's top 10 lists, mine's number 3. Gotta get that in.
Her in-your-face attitude and wacky ways set her apart from other Playmates. She proved to be much more than a pretty pinup and was soon singled out by MTV.
And when I went to MTV, I just let it all out. So I'm like, this is Jenny. Someone told me, if you're just patient and pick the right things that you have that instinct for, stick with that and you'll see the outcome will be unbelievable.
Patience paid off, and Jenny's now a real hot ticket.
Here I am, thank God. If I didn't post for Playboy, I would not be in LA, I would not be sitting in this chair. You know, so they made me who I am today. People react to me differently now. I mean, coming out to me, that would just, oh my God, it's you. Oh my God. And I'm going, what are they talking about? Compared to when I was ringing up groceries, they wouldn't shake before unless I gave them the wrong change back.
But no matter how high her star may climb, this blue-collar babe still has her feet on the ground.
I'm Jenny, and I will always be, you know, Jenny McCarthy from the south side of Chicago. I won't turn into that. Can I have a cappuccino, please?
Now, still ahead, what makes Shauna Sand so special? And our Playmate hopeful Carrie tries out for Playboy.
We hit traffic. It was just the typical when you're in a hurry, something happens.
Also, posing with a python when we come back.
Whatever Snake wants to do, we're just going to have to try and shoot it, so we'll try and play with it as best we can.
Our tribute to some of the most beautiful women in the world. Hi there, I'm Todd Newton, and this is Playmates Then and Now. Well, when a bikini-clad extra strutted her stuff on the set of the television show Renegade, Lorenzo Lamas took notice, and so did Playboy.
To see her is to love her.
Shauna Sand first hit the pages of Playboy as Playmate of the Month in May of '96. It was the culmination of a 16-year modeling career that began while she was still a kid.
I started modeling when I was 9 because my mother had a friend who was a photographer who knew me because I used to be a ballerina. And I just fell in love with it. I loved being behind the camera. And from that day on, I modeled. I think the body is beautiful, and so I always wanted to do Playboy.
Before Shauna was a May Playmate, she was an April bride, marrying actor Lorenzo Lamas.
I met Shauna on the set of Renegade last year. And it was a point in my life where I really didn't need a relationship, wasn't looking for one. I didn't go up to her right away, you know, I just kind of played it as cool as I thought I could play it, but I mean, it's just, I couldn't stop staring at her all day.
After an 8-week courtship, he proposed to Shauna. His marriage to her made it Lorenzo's 4th trip to the altar, and it was during their engagement that Shauna broached the idea of being in Playboy.
When I met Lorenzo, I told him that I had always wanted to do Playboy, and I said, what do you think about that? And he thought it was great.
But Lorenzo knew that they needed to submit pictures first, which led to a rude awakening for Shauna.
Oh, it was terrible. He threw me out of bed at 5 in the morning, and he said,
Darling, wake up.
you you know, and I looked like a wreck. I had no makeup on, 5 in the morning.
And she said, I don't have any makeup on. I feel like a wreck. It's 6:30 in the morning. What are you doing to me?
5 a.m., 6:30, whatever the time, the issue for Shauna was still the same.
I don't like getting up before 9. So I'm a zombie, you know, crawling to the perfect light. And he starts taking all these pictures of me. And he sent them into Playboy. And I think the next day I got a phone call.
By appearing in Playboy, Shauna now has a unique bond with one of her new relatives by marriage.
My mother-in-law did Playboy a long time ago.
And Shauna's mother-in-law is none other than legendary screen siren Arlene Dahl, who made her one and only appearance in Playboy back in 1962.
That was a very traumatic thing for me. When my mom posed for Playboy, she got into a lot of trouble. I think 20th Century Fox dropped her from a contract. She lost 2 television pilots because of that.
Really?
Yeah. And she didn't want Mr. Hefner to run the picture, but he did anyway. He had the rights to it, and, you know, that's life in the big city.
It can be positive and it can be negative. I did Playboy because I believe in Playboy. And I knew that when I did it, some people, you know, agree with Playboy, some people don't. So it'll hurt my career and it can help my career. But I believed in what I did.
I think doing a magazine like Playboy can certainly get a lot of attention drawn to you. It's what you do with that attention that will determine what you do.
And Shauna is determined to move from the flash of the still camera to the hum of the motion picture camera.
Action! Slowly tilt your head down, chin down. Chin down, keep your eyes focused.
I'm taking it slowly right now. I'm training and I'm doing what I'm capable of doing at this level of my career.
Shauna's title role as The Raven, a low-budget feature produced by 1988 Playmate of the Year Indy Allen, marked her film debut.
I have to say Shauna is one of the nicest, sweetest, most beautiful, and keyword here, professional people I've ever met. This character was very tiny at first, and then when we saw Shauna and talked to her for a little while, we went back and had the character developed until she became, you know, a huge part of the script. And that was totally based on her merit. I mean, she came in and just blew us away.
Oh, it's wonderful. I love it. It's not work for me, you know? The only thing that's driving me crazy are the flies.
Still to come, a new car, celebrity spotlight, and $100,000. Plus, Sally Kirkland searches for answers.
You never look at Playboy at all?
Once in a while, I have to go. Okay?
You like the Playmates?
No, hey, leave me alone.
You see me in the current issue?
No, I didn't.
And
We've got girls, 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 and more girls. So stay tuned.
hi there, I'm Todd Newton, and I'm at the Playboy Mansion as we continue to visit Playmates then and now. Earlier in the show, we introduced you to Carrie, a former figure skater who would like to pose for Playboy. Well, here it is. It's the big day, so let's see how it went.
So my alarm clock didn't go off, which never happens to me. And then we hit traffic. It was just the typical when you're in a hurry, something happens. Good morning. Hello. Hi, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. I'm Bridget.
Carrie.
Carrie?
Yeah.
Do you have your IDs with you?
Yeah, I do.
Fill out all the other information.
Okay.
All ready?
Great.
Would you go ahead and have a seat, and then Bill will be right out with you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Billy.
Carrie, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Carrie. Do you have your envelope?
I sure do.
There you go.
Thank you. There you go.
Great. Okay. That's why so you're a local girl from Van Nuys.
Yes, I'm a local.
Wow, that's good.
It's a rarity.
Okay, have you ever done any nude photography before?
Partial nudity. I've never done complete, but I've done some partial.
So nothing that's been published in any of our competitors' magazines?
No, no, it was something for lingerie.
Good, good. Okay, I'll lead you right in this way.
Great. Being out in front of people doesn't really necessarily make me nervous or bother me. Like posing nude in Playboy wouldn't really bother me. I figure, you know, everyone else has those body parts.
With your hips directed that direction and then kind of rotating your shoulders back towards me.
Okay.
Anytime you're ready. Good. Very nice. Very good. Good. All right, terrific.
I know Playboy likes bigger-chested women.
Good.
I think having your breasts done definitely is a big part of this business.
Good. Good job. You're free to put your robe on now.
Thank you.
It usually takes around 2 to 3 weeks, somewhere in that area, to get back to you. But we'll definitely get back to you either way, so we're not going to leave you hanging.
That'd be great.
All right?
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought it was fun more than nervous. I just had a good time. I had a good time with it. Everybody's great. They're friendly and a lot of fun to work with.
Carrie's pictures went on to Chicago, but with such stiff competition, she was not accepted this time around. Over 5 decades, only 500 women or so have been selected as Playmates, and less than 40 have received Playboy's top honor. And the winner is...
Julie Salini. And Nicole Smith. Stacy Sanchez.
Thank you.
This is quite a shock. Thank you, everybody.
In 1960, Ellen Stratton became the first woman to earn the coveted honor. Her prize, a mere $150. Today's winners receive a new car, a $100,000 check, and a whole new life.
What it did for me, number one, it took me into all that glamour life at a very early age, and I learned how to deal with celebrities and famous people.
Lillian Mueller, a Norwegian-born farm girl, landed Hugh Hefner and 1976 Playmate of the Year.
It opened doors for me that otherwise would never have been open to me.
Now in her 40s, Lillian admits the picture-perfect persona is not easy to maintain.
Can you imagine being a Playmate of the Year and you got to live up to that? Wow, because you know that image has so little to do with the real person, because it's this beautiful image of this perfect girl. They should only see us in the morning, you know, when we wake up. We look at ourselves in the mirror and we go, my God, I was a Playmate of the Year. After Hef and I stopped seeing each other a few years later, I had a lot of problems with my health. First of all, I was very depressed all the time, and I couldn't figure out why.
After years of holistic healing, Lillian regained her health and rid herself of the pressures of aging.
Actually, now I just turned 45, and I'm like looking forward to getting 50. And I don't even lie about my age anymore. It's great, you know?
Lillian has written a book about staying fit past 40, and she's building a health farm in Norway. Proof she has capitalized on her early success.
Without Playboy, I wouldn't have had the name value that I have today.
As a young woman growing up in Rochester, New York, Julie Cialini dreamed she'd one day become a Playmate of the Year. In 1995, her dream came true.
It's a very special day, and it's the happiest one in my life.
How would I describe my look? Just very all-American, you know, young all-American. Being chosen Playmate of the Year is very special, you know, because there's not very many Playmates. When I did my first Playboy shoot, I sent in pictures from my portfolio, from modeling, and they wanted some topless snapshots. So I went down to the beach because I lived in Miami, and I took some, you know, topless shots, and we went to the Moto Photo, and just hour developed them, and we FedExed it to them.
While some may be reluctant to bear all, Julie had no problem with picturing herself in the magazine.
I had actually worked with a wood sculptor a couple years before I submitted to Playboy, so I was used to being nude, you know, and I think the body's like art and it's beautiful.
Okay.
See what you have to go through? Modeling is not all fun, okay? I'm dying over here. After you're chosen Playmate of the Year, you know, you do your layout and you do your video, and you have to give them a month of work, you know, publicity tour. After your party, you go on a tour and you travel all over. I'm ready!
Julie hopes to parlay her good fortune in the future.
Yeah, everything that happened to me, you know, with Playboy is what I expect it to be. You know, they can do a lot for your career if you want them to.
Hi, I'm Stacey Sanchez, Playmate of the Year for 1996.
Born and raised in Dallas, the young Texas beauty found stardom the old-fashioned way.
I was discovered in Hawaii while I was vacationing, and I was just laying on the beach, and he came up and said, I'm a Playboy scout, I think you'd be great for the magazine, and of course my first thought was, is this guy for real? But he actually was, and it all went from there. I never really thought about Playboy. My ex-boyfriend always put it in my ear, but I always looked at the magazines like, oh, I can't do this, but you know, it all came about.
Once she decided she could do it, Stacy became determined to go all the way.
I wanted Playmate of the Year so bad, so all year long I just worked. I was so sweet, you know. I just made everyone think, oh,
Stacy's the best. I don't think it really hit me until the day of my Playmate of the Year party that I had actually got it, and I was still in shock as I was giving my speech at my party.
Still can't believe I'm up here.
So I'm just gonna really work at it this year, and hopefully something will come about and I won't be yesterday's news.
When we come back, Sally Kirkland does a Playboy poll.
I did look at Playboy when I was young.
I only read the words when there's an article on Mel Gibson, but...
Hi there, I'm Todd Newton, and this is Playmates Then and Now. Well, why people read Playboy has always been the butt of jokes. So he hit the streets to get a dose of the honest truth.
Hi there. I'm Sally Kirkland, and I'm at a newsstand in Los Angeles, and I thought I would find out why people really buy Playboy. Actually, to tell you the truth, I also wanted to find out what people think of my current layout in Playboy. Excuse me, ma'am. Do you ever read Playboy?
No.
Hi there, young man. Can I ask you a question?
What?
Do you ever buy Playboy?
No.
Excuse me, man. Do you ever buy Playboy? Never? You never bought Playboy in your whole life? Your husband? Boyfriend? You read Playboy?
Am I what?
Do you read Playboy or look at Playboy?
Not lately.
Well, I used to, but no longer. No longer. It's a good magazine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
When did you stop?
About four or 5 months ago.
4 or 5 months ago. What happened 4 or 5 months ago?
I became born again Christian.
When you do buy Playboy, what do you buy it for?
Same thing everyone else does.
And what's that?
Articles.
What do you like about it?
Pictures.
The pictures?
Maybe the pictures.
Yeah?
Be straightforward about it, yeah.
Okay, so you want to see a friend of mine in the current issue?
Sure.
What do you think?
I think she's not that bad.
Well, nice to look at, eh?
Yeah?
Yes. Is she Dutch?
What do you think of her?
Oh, my goodness. Ah,
Who's it look like?
looks like you, don't it?
She look familiar at all?
Is it you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you mean it.
Yes. Shall I take my clothes off?
Wow, that's you.
It is me. Wow.
I'm a little embarrassed.
What do you think of the
Oh, I like them.
Well, this has all been touched up.
Well, not a lot. Not a lot.
Can I ask your age?
Yeah, my age. So you would buy it to look at me?
Yeah, look at you, look at her.
As a born-again Christian, you're not, wouldn't even want to see my picture in the magazine.
Good as they are, I'm sure it's probably not for me to take a look at.
Okay, that's cool. Well, you have a nice day.
Yeah,
God
you as
bless
well.
you.
God bless you.
Okay, Christ be with you.
Now, if you've ever read Playboy and you'd like to catch up with some of your favorite Playmates, then you want to check out this great book. It chronicles every Playmate there ever was. It's a must-have for every Playboy fan. That's all we have for you now. We'd like to thank Hugh Hefner for letting us crash his beautiful pad here. Most of all, we'd like to thank you for watching. I'm Todd Newton for E! Entertainment Television, your entertainment news and information authority.
I think when you're part of Playboy, you're always part of a family.
It just goes on, it doesn't end.
I'll tell you, I've never felt so appreciated in my life.
I tripped down memory lane, I think, for myself and a lot of other people.
It seems like nothing's changed.
Yeah. Once a playmate, always a playmate.